super well dressed, like this great 3-piece suit. And he was wearing red shoes. I'll never forget that. And he comes over and he goes, "Hey, Matt." And I'm like, George Michael knows who I am. And he goes, he goes like this short. He goes, "Oh, nice shoes." And he treads on my trainers. And he puts his footprint on my trainers. And he walks off. He just like disappears. And I'm like, what? So that was, I mean, George Michael that was kind of awesome. I mean, obviously working with Sly and him, you know, just sitting there for his stories, which was quite amazing, you know, to hear him talk about making Rocky and making Rambo. But also, it's got to be the OG. It's got to be Michael Caine, I think, because he was so humble. And he was the first kind of big actor that I worked with. And he was just an absolute gentleman from start to finish. So I think that as like a kindred spirit, I think Michael Caine was really amazing. I'll tell you one thing I did do one day, which is kind of funny. So I went to one of these parties I'm talking about, like it was a pre-Oscar party. And I'm there and I'm looking around and everybody's there, dude. Like everybody's there. And I'm like, I'm here, right? Like this is it. I'm in the inner circle, right? Of the A-listers. And so I started having a few drinks, right? Because it's all a little bit surreal. Like I'm from West Bromwich, right? Like, and I'm there, and Madonna's there, and like, you know. And so I'd had a few, and so I walk into this house, this giant house in Beverly Hills, and I walk into the library, and I just sit down, and because I've always told myself, like, take a minute and just look around and take the moment in. Right? Like just remember it, because I've had so many moments in my life where I've just kind of gone poof and gone through it. So I sit down on this giant big bean bag. They call them love sacks. I don't know if they have them over in the UK. It's this giant love sack. And I sit down and the room's like going like this, right? And I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like, you know, that person's over there and that person's over there. And I feel this like next to me in the next beanbag. There's another beanbag. And this woman goes, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm good." And we start having just a very nice conversation. She had a few as well. And I'm like, you know, it was one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I need to use a little boy's room. And I said, "Anyway, it's really nice to meet you." And she goes, "Really nice to meet you." Just like absolute super sweet. And it was Renee Zellweger. And it was just like, okay, all right, Bridget Jones. And then I went off, staggered off to have a pee somewhere. And so anyway, I had a lot of those moments. I've had a lot of those kind of crazy moments. So
next question is from Nico. How do you get out of Hollywood without being taken out? And I would like to add to that, not necessarily ending you, but like destroying your reputation or some kind of, you know, retribution.
Well, they have. So, Hollywood was kind of like, it's like a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Because you'll say like, I don't want to do this role, I don't want to do that role, or, you know, and all of a sudden, for me, it was the Huffington Post article that came out in 2010 that really like kind of nailed me. They're just basically, I went to raise some money. You can go and look at it if you want. I won't get into it, but that was the beginning of them kind of going, well, hang on a minute, you know, he's not in the gang. And even though there's nothing in that article that suggests anything about my political persuasion, I wasn't really political back then. They certainly do not tolerate Republicans or anyone who's remotely conservative or anyone wants to like go against the agenda. And so what happens is, you know, you start, you know, you might not get called in on jobs. So your amount of work goes in. So your agent's like, what's going on? And your manager might go, this article, what's this article? And then they kind of get like pressured from other people. You represent that guy. And then that's it. And so I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to be a part of a group that treat other people like that. Right. So I don't care. I'm out. And so I'm still doing, you know, I still like did Reacher, and I did a movie that came out earlier on this year. So, you know, I'm still doing stuff, but it's kind of outside the bubble. And the frustration about that is it's very difficult to get really good quality roles, good quality films outside of that bubble. Although now most people have switched off to Hollywood and they don't want to see anything anyway. But you do get to the point where you're like, it shouldn't be like this. Like, you know, just because you won't bend the knee to the Borg, that used to be an admirable quality, right? Like if you don't, if you have some moral fortitude and stand up for what you believe in, someone might disagree with you, and I'm like that. Like, look, I admire them for standing up for what they believe in. It certainly wouldn't preclude me from hiring them for a job, but that's the way Hollywood is. And now it's got, you saw it with Gina Carano, you've seen it with, you know, Zachary Levi. Other people are coming out and they're like, listen. And then you also see the way that so many people speak about, shall I say, non-Democrats. They are really vicious. I don't understand that. So I'm all right with being out of it.
Next question is from Georgie. Black Hawk Down. Loved the movie. Did Matthew get to work with SEAL Team Red, and has he met Michael Jaco?
On Black Hawk Down, I actually worked with, on that particular movie, there was a guy. None of the SEALs were there. There's a little bit of trivia on this. Actually, there were 3 SEALs that were involved in that operation, and the Navy didn't give them permission to use Navy SEALs in Black Hawk Down. So that's why there are no SEALs. But I worked with Delta Force on that. There was a guy. I'm brain farting on his name right now. I can't. Lee Van Arsdale, who was a Delta guy. A lot of the Rangers that were in that in Mogadishu went on to be in Delta Force. So outside of that, I've trained with them. I've trained with 2 of my very good friends. I think he's actually in SEAL Team 6. I think that's what he's referencing. Red Team is, you know, you have different teams within SEAL Team 6, and SEAL Team 6 is kind of like the elite group of the Navy SEALs, right? So, you know, you have all the different named SEAL teams like 1, 2, 3. But SEAL Team 6 isn't just a regular number, right? For those that don't know, they are the elite. They're chosen from all the other SEAL team groups. And I have worked with a couple of guys. My friend Craig Sawyer, it was in SEAL Team 6. And another one of my friends called Tiny was in SEAL Team 6, was actually best friends with Rob O'Neill. So I've more worked with the Army. Like I said, I've worked with the Delta guys. I've worked with Army Rangers, and in recent years, I've worked quite a bit with Green Berets. And when you're in California, you work a lot with the SEAL teams because obviously the proximity from Coronado to LA, so you get a lot of guys up there. So I've worked with a lot of regular SEALs, but my training's mainly been with Army guys.
Question from Queenie Morris. Matthew, what role did you want to play but didn't get due to not playing the game?
I can't really say that there's a role that I wanted to get that because I wasn't playing the game, but the role that I would have loved to have had, and it wasn't because of any other thing, but they were going through, you can look it up actually, that the process was such a disaster. There's a great video on YouTube about it. I did test for Superman. And that was something that I would love to have done back in the day. I also met with Danny Boyle on 28 Days Later, but I wasn't skinny enough on that as well. But I did meet with him on that, and that was when I was very early coming into Hollywood. I would love to have done either of those roles. I mean, obviously Superman would have been great, but I think that they got the right guy for it later. I mean, that was the pre-Brandon Routh one. So I went in and met with Brett Ratner for that, and then it all fell apart. And then they did the Brandon Routh one, which was a disaster. And then they got the right guy in Henry Cavill.
Nikki wants to know if you could have a superpower, which one would it be?
Flight.
Right. Papa Chubby, did it take the Hollywood experience for you to realize you were political, or was there a defining moment or time previous?
That is an amazing question. That's a really amazing question. I think that the thing that really spurned me into understanding that I was more political. I think initially it was when I worked on Black Hawk Down. I worked with the Army Rangers, and they just loved the country so much, and I didn't know why America was so great. So after I worked with the Army Rangers, I went back and started looking into American history, reading about the founding fathers, what happened. Great book on George Washington, and then on Thomas Jefferson. And so I'm a real a big reader, right? So I read a lot, and I think that the election with Barack Obama was the thing that kind of switched me onto American politics, because just to get into it a little bit, Shaun, if you don't mind, if you want me to talk about it. All right. So the fact that I was coming back to my faith, and Barack Obama went to a church with Reverend Wright, and Reverend Wright was a Black liberation theologist. And Black liberation theology, for anyone who doesn't know, is a Marxist. It was set up as a Marxist thing to break the back of the Catholic Church in South America by doing something what they call is collective salvation, which means, Shaun, that if I'm a Christian, then you've got to do what you can't put my salvation at risk, right? So I've got to force you to be a good person, for me to be able to get to heaven. And that is what that's basically the crux of what black liberation theology is. And that is what Reverend Wright teaches or taught at his church. And Barack Obama was at that church for 25 years. And so people were just dismissing Barack Obama going to this church. And I said, well, hang on a second. Either he is, he believes in what Reverend Wright is saying, which is black liberation theology, which is a problem because it's Marxist in nature, or he sat there for 25 years and didn't learn anything, which means he's a moron and he shouldn't be president. And that to me was just a logical thing, right? And people just kept denying it. I'm like, hang on a minute, I want to get to the bottom of this. So again, I started reading, and that was the kind of the crux of me starting going down that route, just because I felt that you couldn't ask a question about Obama and you got yelled down. And I wasn't political then at all, but I was just like, hang on a second, this doesn't make I'm a very logical person, and it didn't make sense logically.
A lot of people asking if you came across Scientology in Hollywood.
I did. You know what? Very funny. I can tell you, I had two experiences with Scientology where they did. I don't know if they still do, but they had a place down in Santa Monica. They had a place in, I want to say, would they have in Glendale? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm trying to remember now whether it was Glendale or. But anyway, I was in line once at Six Flags, and this couple started talking to me, and they were Scientologists, and they were trying to like get me to go to their place or whatever it is to go and have the hold the things and whatever. And then I got asked twice. It's all within a space of like 2 weeks. And my girlfriend at the time had an experience with Scientology, and it freaked her out. Like, she was like, you don't understand. Like, they know what you're doing. And I'm like, no, they don't. But on 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, there's a Scientology center, and I got targeted twice by them. And but I never got involved. Now, I did actually. This person is going to remain nameless, but they're very, very good friends of mine. They came up to me and they were like, hey, have you ever thought of Scientology? And I'm like, no, dude, I'm Catholic. And they were like, oh, yeah, you can be Catholic and you can be a Scientologist. I was like, no, you can't. And they were like, oh, yeah, you can. I was like, maybe they tell you that, but I'm telling you as a Catholic, you can't. And then they got very bent out of shape about it. And then years later, this person came back to me, and I'm very good friends with them now. And they said, thank you so much for saying that, because you standing up to me in that instance made me go and read about it. And I'm out. So, it's just sometimes you've just got to stand up for what you know is right. So I did, but they didn't get me. I didn't do the handy things, those like, whatever they are. They didn't get me.
So two of the most famous people involved with Scientology are Tom Cruise and John Travolta. Did you ever come across them?
No, I know someone who knows John very well, said he's one of the most amazing people you'll ever meet. Very, very sweet, very kind. I also know that I don't know anyone who has a bad word to say about Tom Cruise, to be honest. I mean, they say that I know someone who worked with him, and they turned up to work one day and he's there and he's making the coffee. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He was like, and they were like, Tom, you got to come to work. And he was like, oh, hold on, what do you want? Do you want a double espresso? So, I mean, for whatever weirdness is with the Scientology, and it's kind of crazy, I haven't heard a bad thing about either of those guys. I can honestly say that, and I know that Tom Cruise like works his ass off. And look, I love Top Gun, and look, I'm a big believer in just, if you're gonna do your thing, do your thing. I don't try and push people into believing what I believe. So, whatever, you can carry on as long as it's not like infringing on other people, whatever.
Next question. Are you still acting? If not, what makes you happy now?
I am still acting. I mean, I did, like I said, I did a movie that came out earlier on this year. I'm writing a lot because the stuff I get is just so bad. Like, it's just poor, and I don't want to do it. Like, I think I told you this last time, I got a script, and they were like, okay, there's a script, it's shot. I won't say where it is. I don't want to expose it, what the production is. And it was like, and are you okay with nudity and gay sex? I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want to be nude, and I don't want to be having gay sex with a man on screen. I just don't want to do that. And so I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm going to start writing my own stuff. The first script I ever wrote, I sold. The second one I made into a movie, which is I Am That Man, that people can watch on YouTube. And that's got like 5.4 million views. And third one went up the flagpole and nearly got greenlit by one of the biggest production companies in the world. So I'm working on something right now. I want to like help bring back sanity to films and just make just good films that people want to watch, and movies that young people that are coming up can be in, where they don't have to compromise themselves. Just good stories. So this one's actually, believe it or not, Shaun, it's a romantic comedy. And it's a lot of fun. When was the last like romantic comedy that people would go see that was just fun? And so I'm writing that. You're going to come in and be do you want a cameo in it? I'm telling you, do you want to come and have a cameo in it?
A non-woke cameo.
A non-woke cameo. It's just involves gay sex, Shaun, and nudity. It's okay. Your fans want it. They want it. Honestly, I'll put you in it. If you want to come and do a cameo in the movie, when it gets greenlit, I'll call you up and I'll have you in it. There you go.
You've said it on a live. We're going to hold you to it, my friend.
I promise you, I'll be the shot caller. So there you go.
They're asking which Rambo. What was your role?
I was in the fourth Rambo. What do you mean, which Rambo? The third ones were like in the 80s. I'm not that old. This was the one in. See, the problem with that movie was it was originally called John Rambo, and then they called it Rambo. And so it's not called like First Blood Part 4, right? Rambo. So it's just Rambo. So it's the fourth one. Most people think that it is the second best in the series. I tend to agree with them. I love the first one, and I play a role. I play the sniper, schoolboy, in that. So there you go.
All right. Next question is: have you seen Yellowstone?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it's terrific. Yeah. I think it's absolutely great. I think the acting is great. Cole Hauser, who's a friend of mine, is, for all intents and purposes, a terrific human being. So I know that. But yeah, it's a great show. Just masterful writing. Yeah, I love it.
All right, we'll just. Are you all right? Just go to half past, and we'll get through the rest of the questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 5 more minutes, folks. Get your final questions in. Claire, Matthew, following and standing by your convictions in your craft, which part of your life was affected the most in a positive way, according to you?
Wow, you got really great followers, haven't you? Like, this is a terrific question. I think that getting to a point where you have like plot armor, you know what I mean? Like, where you go, you can't affect me. It doesn't matter. I think that my life, what has really enriched me, I think from standing up and saying it, is when you get like the one message where someone says, I was going to quit, but because I saw you doing that, I didn't, and I'm really thankful of it. So those things really mean something, because for the most part, you're a meat puppet. You're going around, like, being an actor isn't like an important really profession. It's not like we're saving lives or anything like that. But I think, and that's why I started doing my own YouTube channel, and my buddy Trevor Colt really pushed me to do it, because I think that there are a lot of people that feel disenfranchised right now, Shaun, and they look at someone like yourself and look at someone like me, and they're like, hey, these are just real people that have been through extraordinary circumstances, and they've come out the other end, and they're like at least a semblance of being normal, and they can relate, right? In a oddly enough, I think that the advent of social media, it's made people more distant from each other. And I think that these things, like these live streams, have made people come together more to understand that I'm not going out of my mind. I'm not losing it. So I think for me, realizing that there are people out there that are aligned with me, because my life personally is really great. And that wasn't affected by my career, if you know what I mean. Like that I've been working on. I think, and I'm sure you do this, you evaluate yourself and say, what is my legacy? What am I going to leave for my kids? Are they going to turn around and say, my dad was a good man? Because that's really what matters, right? That's what you really want to leave. And so I've been working on that outside of my career anyway. But I think that the change to do these kinds of things, and the feedback you get from people that say, hey, listen, we really appreciate that. I love that. I think that's really great. It's a really positive in my life.
Good answer, yeah. A lot of people are asking about various names. I'll just throw you a load of them at you at once and see if you have come across any of them. So we've got Keanu Reeves, Jason Statham, Denzel Washington, Beyonce, Johnny Depp, Oprah.
Okay. I haven't. It's funny because you could have done a bunch more and I would have said yes. But Johnny Depp, the only experience I had with Johnny Depp was I had the pleasure of being behind him at the Pirates of the Caribbean premiere. You don't want to be behind the star of the movie at the premiere, which was a disaster because everyone's like, "Shut up, get out the way." So that's been my only experience with him. I have, however, I do know Kevin McNally. I worked with Kevin McNally, who's his right-hand man in the Pirates franchise. I nearly worked with him on Public Enemies. There was a whole thing with that. That's a whole other thing. Beyonce, obviously, I mean, I did a single with her, so I have met her. I've sang with her. I haven't seen her in a long time. Last time I saw her, we were meant to go to Six Flags together in LA, which was kind of funny. But I haven't seen her in 20 years. And the others, no, I haven't really had an experience. Oprah was on her way out, really. We're in like different spheres. What were the other ones? Denzel, no, I'll tell you this. I know a lot of people who love him. And I'll tell you this, he does a lot of good work behind the scenes. He does a lot of charity work that nobody knows about. And he's the real deal. Like, I love Denzel Washington. I mean, I think, I love Man on Fire is one of my favorite movies of all time. And what was the other one where it's all black and white and he's walking through and it's he's blind? I love that film as well. I always end up going, oh, I've got to watch this. But he's terrific.
Is Tom Hardy nice? Just came up.
Yeah, when I worked with him, he was lovely. And a few years later, we kind of somehow ended up like Facebook messaging each other like randomly. And he was in South Africa, I think, doing something. I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, great. Yeah, good. I mean, he was, he's had a real up and down life. But he's always been nice to me. Always been nice to me.
Final question then. Are you settled in America or would you move back to the UK?
I love America. I love America. I mean, look, I love the UK. I love the people back home. When I came back recently, I just remembered how absolutely beautiful a country it is. Like, it really is like got some stunning natural beauty. And when you're around it, like Texas is pretty much flat and dusty, right, for the most part. And I did live in Paradise in California. California's, probably the most beautiful place in the world. But going back to England, there's nothing like, you know, going around a country pub, sitting there with it's, dude, it's the people that make it, right? The people that make it as well. But if I got offered the right role, I think I'd come back for a bit. But my kids are settled here, so and I love America, but I'd certainly come back if people really wanted me to do something, do a little arc on something. Yeah.
Oh, lovely question to end it on. I'm going to put your links in the description box now. Is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion to the viewers?
I'm just really grateful for, over the years, people supporting my career. I think that you look back, you know, as you end up being an old fart, right, Shaun, you look back and you're like, you know, this has been kind of quite a ride. And I just want to show in a era where actors treat their fans and viewers with contempt. I'm just really, really grateful that people bothered to watch me when I was in Coronation Street, that it went out and bought tickets to my films. I'm just very, very grateful for everyone's support over the years. And yeah, I live in gratitude every day, Shaun. I really do.
That's a beautiful thing, brother. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us this evening.
It's my pleasure.
And viewers, all of Matthew's links are in the description box below this video. There's tons of content on his channel. He's doing lives. I know there's loads of unanswered questions. Take them over there, support his work. And I'm going to close the show, but huge thank you for coming on, and hope to speak soon. Cheers.
It's my pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye. Bye. What a great guy. So grounded, coming from modest origins and rising to the highest ranks of these people in Hollywood. And you could see, you know, we've done loads of interviews lately, and people have said, to get to the top, you've got to be compromised. You could see how they were testing him, and he would not bow down to these demons. You could see various angles they were trying on him. From a child, why don't we take this off? Item of clothing off. To an adult, do this scene, do that scene. And he stood his ground, and that's what I really admire about Matthew. The way he stood his ground and navigated through it and protected his son. And when he answered that question as well, where he said, it's all about the legacy for his son, you know, having a good rep and setting that example for his son. I just find that so inspirational and so virtuous. So guys, thanks for all your questions. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we've got a guy coming on tomorrow, infiltrated Bohemian Grove, and we'll be doing Diddy News. And thanks for tuning in and making Saturday evening such an exciting event. The chat was absolutely buzzing, and I appreciate everyone. And your questions, I've seen over and over again. All your questions might make my job a hell of a lot easier. It's all appreciated, so keep them coming.